Hey, my name is Tiffany Duty Hernandez, and this is my career profile number 2. And the career that I picked is Qualified Intellectual Disabled Professional, or QIDP. It's also called a support coordinator sometimes. And so basically for this career, you're working with people with disabilities, in this case intellectual disabilities, and you're basically their advocate. You're trying to find ways to coordinate things for the community and for basically to make sure that they have a high quality of life, basically. And so I'm going to kind of skip ahead and talk directly about the common job tasks so you kind of get a feel for what this job includes. So as a support coordinator or qualified intellectual disabled professional, you're basically in charge of coordinating things for people with disabilities. You help clients come up with an individual support plan, which details how the client needs or wants to be supported. This may include coordinating community programming such as work in the community. It may also include helping clients to find adequate staff to assist them with day-to-day activities, and then also monitoring that staff and living arrangement to make sure that they're assisted to the client to achieve everything on their that they want on their individual support plan. And so it would also include working not only with the client, but you're often working with the client's family. You're explaining to them and helping them and basically advocating for the clients and the family's rights. And so an example organization, in the state of Utah, I actually have a friend who does this. Her name's Karen Chaddock. And so in the state of Utah, what she's told me at least is that she did used to work for a facility. She worked for the Utah State Developmental Center. However, they've kind of changed guidelines for the state. And so instead of working for the facility and working for the state, she now is kind of an independent contractor. And so she still does the exact same job. She just has to find her own clients and kind of goes from there. So the Utah State Developmental Center used to be an example of an organization you would work for, but now she's an independent contractor. So in the state of Utah, it sounds like you actually would be an independent contractor and work for yourself. And so, let's see, so she's my actual career contact. And so she lives in Alpine, Utah. And so if anyone wants to get more information from her, if you're interested, I think she's also looking for, she may possibly be looking for some people to work under her to train under her license. So if anyone's interested in doing that for an internship or something, that may be a possibility. If you wanted to contact me, I don't want to give out her number without her permission, but if you contact me, I can go ahead and contact her on your behalf and have her contact you if you're interested. But basically, so as a personal contractor, other states may be different. It kind of just depends, but with the state of Utah, it sounds like that's kind of what it is, where you become an independent contractor and you go out and find your own clients, and you have several clients that you work for. And so the work environment, you kind of, in Utah at least, you kind of get to pick your own work environment because you're picking your own clientele, you're picking your hours, you pick all of that because you're an independent contractor. And so that's one thing that Karen talked about loving about this job, is that she's able to pick her hours and she's able to work it around her children's school schedule. And so she just sets up regular meetings with her clients and make sure that they're being taken care of and that they have the community connections and stuff that they need, and she deals with all of that. And so one thing to note, though, is that you are dealing with people with disabilities. So if that's something that makes you uncomfortable, this probably isn't the best position for you. But it's the perfect career if you want to be your own boss, at least in the state of Utah. Typical stressors. Clients may not always be able to communicate their desires for support, so that may be frustrating trying to figure out a way to communicate and to meet the needs of the client and try to understand those and be able to communicate. Some clients may also act out aggressively or unpredictably when they're frustrated. It's like any job. It just depends. Your clients and those you work with, it just depends on personalities there. You do work on your own. So if you're a very social person, I mean, you'll have your clients and stuff, but you won't really have other coworkers necessarily, at least not in the state of Utah. But if you're someone who likes to work on your own and be your own boss, this is probably the best career for you. I think that was kind of back to the other one. But let's see, typical benefits. So in other states, it looks like if you can work for a company or for the state directly, and so you would get state benefits, and they would pay all of those things. In the state of Utah, now that it's switched over to having support coordinators as independent contractors, you no longer get state benefits. And so that's not included. You would have to find your own benefits, which may be a problem for some people. So that is something to keep in mind. Is it really just depends on your state, though. And so in the state of Utah, it makes it a little bit more difficult because you're no longer employed by the state specifically. And so they do consider you an independent contractor. So you have to find your own retirement and insurance and everything. But like I said, check with your state and see. Like I looked at Ohio and California. It looks like they did actually have some facilities where you go in and so we already talked about kind of the common job tasks. You're basically there to support your client and advocate for them and find them places to live and work and help them budget and come up with a plan to help support them in any way that they need, and make sure that their staff is helping them in those goals. And so you're kind of the go-between between the community and the client. And so education requirements for this job. Typically, you only need a bachelor's degree in the field relating to human services, such as like social work, psychology, sociology, education, etc. That's why I kind of feel like marriage and family studies fits with this. That's why I picked this for my career profile, because Karen was actually looking for people who were studying marriage and family therapy. And so, because you're dealing with a lot of families in this case, you're helping families with children or adults that have disabilities and helping them. So you're dealing with families as well. It's not just the client. I do want to note that that's kind of the miscellaneous, is it's not just the client that you're there. I mean, the person with disability is your client, but you're also helping that family and advocating for them and taking care of their child and helping them to go out into the community. And so you do need that bachelor's degree in most cases, though I said before, it really depends on the state. But you do need a bachelor's degree in some field. A lot of times if you only have a bachelor's degree, they'd like to see a year or two of experience in working with people with disabilities. And then in the state of Utah specifically, it sounds like you do need that a license. And then Karen was saying that you actually also have to put in about 36 hours of additional training each year to maintain that license. And so that's important. They do continual training each year. And so you just have different classes or whatever it be. I think she said you do get to choose those classes, but it's just basically making sure that you're refreshing up on the things that you need to help your clients. And so for the salary range, the only state that I could see that would list kind of a salary range there, it was Ohio. And so do keep in mind that this is for Ohio. And the starting salary range is about $44,532.80. And the experience salary range it goes all the way up to $55,660.80. And so that's pretty good for marriage and family studies. That pretty much sums up most of the stuff about this career, but I do think it's important to note, like I said before, that while your client is usually the person, you're also working for the family and you're working with family specifically and helping them as well, because people with disabilities have families that want to, that care and are very involved with making sure that they're taken care of and supported. And so kind of your job is basically to make sure that they have that support system connecting them to their family, the community, and all three of those, kind of connecting with their staff as well. And so you're basically the coordinator of connecting that support together. And also I did want to mention that the income for this career, it sounds like it's actually paid by Medicaid, at least in the state of Utah. And so because they're no longer hired by the state. They're not state employees technically. It would be billed through Medicaid as the support coordinator is what it sounded like. So I did want to make you guys aware of that. And so one thing, if you are looking to see what the requirements are for your state, it looks like they're at www.qddp.org. It actually gives a little bit of information about it, and they may be able to guide you as to where to look to find out your state requirements. So that about sums it up for today.